So like I was saying before, that ratios are telling you how many parts that they have to the whole thing, or in relationship to each other. I have the box there at angle XYV. I know that angle has to be a 90-degree angle. So I have a 90-degree angle, and I know that this angle right here is like 7 parts of that right angle, and this angle over here is 2 parts of that right angle. So if I was to divide these up into equal parts, then the top one would have 7 of them and the bottom one would have 2 of them. Or essentially here in total, between the top one and the bottom one, I'd have a total of 9 parts. 7 plus 2 would be 9 parts. If I have 9 parts and I know that together the whole thing has to total up to 90 degrees, then each part would have to be 10, or 90 divided by 9 parts. Each part would have to be 10 degrees then. So if I know each part's 10 degrees, and this one's got 7 parts, maybe I'll write the word parts in there, then this top angle here would have to be 7 parts, 10 degrees each, so it would be 70 degrees. This one's got 2 parts, 10 degrees each, that would be 20 degrees. So the top angle is 70 and the bottom one's 20. The two of them add up to the total of 90 like they should, and this one, a ratio of 70 to 20, would be a ratio of 7 to 2, the same thing as what we were given. Now if you don't like to do it that way, like you're more of an algebra kind of a person, then you're more than welcome to say, well, this is like 7x and this is like 2x. I got 2 parts here, 7 parts there. I know in total they have to total up to 90 degrees. So 7x plus 2x has to total 90, or 7 parts plus 2 parts, again, would be 9 parts. We did this earlier, and then we ended up dividing. 90 divided by 9 means that each part is 10 degrees. So going back and plugging back in 10 in there for x, you're going to get 70. Go back, plug in 10 in there for x, you're going to get the 20. Find the measure of the two angles. There's, like I said before, not a whole lot that you can assume in geometry, but one thing that you are allowed to assume in geometry is straight angles. So I know that angle TSP there has to be a straight angle, or that angle is 180 degrees. Since that's 180 degrees, then I know that this angle on the left plus this angle on the right in total have to make this 180 degrees in there. So that's how I'm going to set this up. So I know that the first angle, the 4x plus 20 angle, plus the second angle of 2x plus 10 have to together make 180 degrees there. And then if I solve for x, I've got 6x plus 30 equals 180. Subtract off 30. And divide by 6, which is 25. So x is 25. Find the measure of the two angles. Again, please remember geometry, okay? A lot of times they're not going to ask you what x is, but they're going to ask you something else that you need to solve for still. So find the measure of the two angles. So if x is 25, plug in 25 into that one. 4 times 25 plus 20. Plug 25 into that one. 2 times 25 plus 10. 4 times 25, if I had 4 quarters, that would be a buck. Plus 20 would be a $1.20. And this one, 2 times 25 would be 50. Plus an additional 10, that angle over there would be 60 degrees. How can we double check this? I mean, it's very, very simple to do, and it takes no time at all, especially on a test or something. If you have extra time, does these answers make sense? Meaning, do the two of them make 180? Yes, they do. Okay, I know this angle plus this angle have to total up to the 180, and they do, so the answer seems reasonable. Last page here, midpoint formula. Okay, you've probably seen midpoint formula before. If you haven't, well then voila, there it is. So midpoint formula, you add up the x's, the midpoint between any 2 points on a coordinate system. If I want to know where that exact middle point is located at, so if I tell you that E is the midpoint between D and F, and I want to know, well, where is E located at, then you can take the points D and F and plug them into the midpoint formula, and you will come out with this midpoint of E. So that midpoint, you add up the two x's together on D and F, divide by 2, and add the two y's together and divide it by 2. I want you guys to answer this question. Why does the midpoint formula make sense? Why does adding up this x and this x together and then dividing it by 2 give you the x coordinate of the middle? And then when I add this one, the y's up together, and I divide it by 2, how come that tells me where that y coordinate should be for this midpoint? Why does that make sense? So you should answer that question. And can you figure out which algorithm is being used? Algorithm is a very, very fancy word, big, long, fancy looking word for just what process is being used. What's really going on here? Can you identify it? For sure, you should be able to think about why the midpoint form should make sense and put it there in your own words. Okay, so find the midpoint E of DF. So the midpoint, add up the two x's together on D and F. So I'm going to do that real quick here. -3 plus the 9. I'm just plugging them into the midpoint formula. So -3 plus the 9 are the two x's. Divide by 2 and do the same thing with the y's. I've got a 5 and a -8. Add those two up together and divide them by 2. And that should be my midpoint of DF. So that would be, well, -3 plus 9 is -6. So we still have to cut that in half. 5 plus -8 is -3. We got to cut that in half. Or I've got the point -3 comma -3 halves is the midpoint. So I hope that you enjoyed the video. This is Miss Kabisha signing off.